How difficult would it be to rank all of Van Gogh's paintings? Maybe not so hard if you consider just the most famous ones, but Van Gogh made over 900 artworks. Ranking 900 of anything subjective is almost impossible for just one person. Instead, how about we break this list into a series of pairs so that we can compare just two paintings at a time and vote for whichever one we prefer. This approach is called Pairwise Comparison, and it's one of the most popular research methods that most people have never heard of. The way pairwise comparison works is pretty simple. Give each person a series of pairs to vote on, and then calculate the percentage of pairs that an option won. For example, if Starry Night was shown in 20 pairs and it won 8 times, its score would be 8 divided by 20, which is 40%. Using this simple formula, we can score and rank any list of things from most to least preferred using pairwise comparison voting. So that's what pairwise comparison is, but it's not necessarily where it started. Pairwise comparison has been around for almost 100 years, since first being published by Louis Leon Thurston back in 1927. For some people, pairwise comparison might trigger a flashback to their school days, where they did manual pairwise matrices during math class. Today, you'll often find pairwise comparison used in competitive gaming. A more advanced pairwise formula called the ELO rating system has been used to rank chess players since the 1950s. And some even more complicated probabilistic algorithms are used to rank players in online games like Pokemon Go and Counter-Strike. Setting up a pairwise comparison survey is a lot easier than most people assume, so let's clear up a couple of common misconceptions. The first misconception is that you must vote on every possible pair to get a robust result. A list of options can quickly turn into a pretty huge amount of combinations to vote on. While 10 options only turns into 45 possible pairs, 100 options has 4,950 different possible combinations. That's a lot. Pairwise comparison just measures the percentage of head-to-head votes an option wins, so you don't need to vote on every possible pair to calculate that. Especially when your survey will have many participants, it's a lot easier to just give each person a sample of pairs to vote on. This partial approach is how the vast majority of surveys that use pairwise comparison are designed. For example, YouTuber Tom Scott ran a pairwise survey in 2020 to figure out what the best thing in the world is. His list of options included 7,188 things, which meant there were a total of 25.8 million possible pairs. But Tom only collected 1.2 million votes, which is less than 5% of the total possible combinations. Why were his results still reliable? Because Tom wasn't calculating the actual outcome of each possible pair. He was just calculating the percentage of wins for each option, and you don't need the outcome of every single pair to figure that out. If you're not sure how many votes to ask for from each participant, there is a handy little robustness calculator for pairwise voting on OpinionX that you can use to figure out how many votes to ask each participant based on the number of ranking options and participants your survey will engage. Misconception number 2. You'll have to configure all the pairs yourself. Not true. Just copy and paste your list of ranking options into a survey tool that supports pairwise voting, like OpinionX, and share the link with participants. The survey tool will select the pairs of options for each participant to vote on. You don't have to do this part yourself. And misconception number 3, pairwise comparison is expensive because it's an advanced research method. Pairwise comparison might still be relatively uncommon for online surveys, but it's not really an advanced research method, so it doesn't have an expensive price tag. OpinionX is a free tool for pairwise comparison surveys that lets you create unlimited surveys with unlimited questions, unlimited ranking options, engage unlimited participants, invite unlimited collaborators. You get the picture. No usage limits, all for free. You only pay for OpinionX if you want to use the advanced analysis features for things like segmentation, or the more advanced setup options like conditional branching. So hopefully you've realized that it sounds a lot easier to get started than you expected, right? Well, if you're not already convinced, here are a couple of quick reasons why researchers love using pairwise comparison. First, it's great for ranking long lists. It's a lot easier to compare two things at a time instead of everything at once. Second, mobile phones have become the most common way that people complete surveys today. The easier it is to do your survey on a phone or tablet, the higher your survey's completion rate is going to be. Third, it's easier to rank stuff when there are objective measurements associated with them, like ranking musicians by monthly streams on Spotify. But when it comes to ranking subjective things like opinions or ideas, the head-to-head nature of pairwise comparison helps people translate their personal preferences into a ranked list without requiring loads of difficult thinking. And number 4, pairwise comparison accurately simulates how we consider trade-offs when we make decisions in real life. So the data is a much more accurate reflection of how people think and act. Okay, by now you should definitely be feeling more informed and ready to create your own survey. Here are the 4 steps you should follow to nail this on your first go. The first step is writing the Pairwise question, which can be as simple as, which one do you like more? For research projects though, I tend to structure my Pairwise question using 2 things, perspective and context. Perspective states how the participant should interpret the options, like whether you want them to focus on which one is more valuable to them or concerns them more. Context adds a scenario to the question so that everyone is thinking of the same situation when they're voting, like imagining they're using a specific product or trying to complete a certain task. When you put these 2 ingredients together, you get a Pairwise question like, which of these 2 features delivers more value for you when you use our product? Once you've got the question done, you should write your list of ranking options. The most important thing to remember is to keep your options consistent. Make sure they're written from the same point of view, like don't switch between first person and third person. Try to include only 1 variable per option. If your statement has many different points baked in together, try splitting each out into separate options. And keep things concise. Short and to the point is better. Once you share your survey and participants start to complete it, your results will be calculated automatically. By default, everyone will be anonymous. So if you want to know who participants are or what each person voted for, you should include an identify block to collect people's name, email address, or some other form of personal data that'll help you figure out who they are. While it's great to be able to see everyone's combined ranking, my favorite part about Pairwise Comparison is splitting people into groups to see how they rank stuff differently to one another. Multiple choice questions are an easy way to get participants to sort themselves into buckets that you can use for filtering, segmenting, or comparing groups later on. For example, when I use Pairwise Comparison for my customer research, I always include a question about which pricing plan they're on, so that after the survey is finished, I can compare the differences between what my free users think versus what my paying customers care about. If you're ready to create your own survey, I recommend heading over to OpinionX.co, where you can have your first survey up and running in just 2 or 3 minutes. For the final part of this video, let's look at some examples of Pairwise ranking surveys that have been used in real projects. In 2014, the Wikipedia Foundation created a Pairwise survey and asked thousands of their volunteer contributors to vote on a list of new feature ideas that they could build for their community. Other companies like Labster in the education technology space and Safe in the crypto world have also used similar Pairwise voting projects to let their customers have a say in what features to build next. Back in early 2021, a Pairwise survey actually helped me save my own company. We had just lost our only customer and we couldn't really figure out why nobody would buy our product. So we looked back through our notes from about 150 user interviews. We wrote out all the problems that those people had mentioned, and then we invited a bunch of target customers to rank those problems using Pairwise Comparison. In less than 2 hours, we could see that the problem we had built our whole website and product around was ranked dead last out of 45 different options. Instead of giving up, we saw that 5 of the top ranked problems were things that our product could actually solve. So we rewrote our whole website to focus just on those. Within a week, we had 4 paying customers and all of our main metrics had multiplied. So that concludes a quick tour of all things Pairwise Comparison. To learn more, check out my full written guide, which is linked in the description below. And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more actionable user research strategies that I share with thousands of founders and product teams, both here on YouTube and on my newsletter, The Full Stack Researcher.